Okay folks, so in the last video we had a look at how to make this compass roller, and in this video now we're going to look at two new parts. So part 4, which is the lead holder, and part 5 then, which is the lead wheel that's going to attach to the holder. Okay, so as usual we're going over to our compass project and we're going to open up a new work studio. So create part studio, and we're going to be greeted by the 3 planes and the origin. So the first thing I want to do here now again is just to rename this, and I'm going to rename it after part 4, which is lead holder. So rename lead holder. Okay, and I'm going to start here now with step 1. So sketch the center rectangle on the top plane. So we have 10 mil by 4 mil. So looking straight in at the top plane, I'm going to sketch. I'm sketching onto the top plane a center rectangle, and that's going to be 10 mil by 4 mil. Okay, so the shape then turns black once it's fully defined. Green tick. So that's step 1. Step 2 is to extrude that sketch by 3 millimeters. So I'm going up here to the extrude feature, and I'm going to extrude this sketch by 3 mil. And make sure you hit the green tick once you're done. Okay, so you can see now we have a cuboid shape here, and we'll be moving on to step 3. So all very basic so far. Look normal to the left of the shape and sketch a radius 1 millimeter circle on the center of that surface. Okay, so if we go over to our shape here, we can see we have looking in at the right, and we also have looking in to the left. So we're asked here to look in at the left, and we're asked to sketch onto that surface, and we're sketching a circle of radius 1 millimeter. So I can go up here now to dimension that, and it's going to be a diameter of 2. The final thing I want to do is make sure that that's centered on the shape. So the distance from here to here should be 1.5 mil. Okay, green tick once we're finished that, and we can see now that we've sketched onto that shape, that circle. Okay, step number 4, extrude, remove the circle. End type would be up to next. So I'm going up here to extrude again, and I'm extruding this shape. And by default now, it's extruding and adding. I don't want to add, I actually want to remove. So make sure you're clicking the remove button. And they said that the end type was up to next. So it's going to go up to the next surface, which is the surface here on the other side, which is here. Green tick once we're finished that. Okay, back to our document. Step number 5. Look normal to the bottom of the shape and sketch this circle onto the bottom surface. So we see here again we have this diameter 2 circle. That's 4 mil away from this edge and 2 mil away from this edge. So again, looking at this shape here, we want to look straight in at the bottom, they're saying. Okay, so when we look at the bottom, this is what we see. And we know that we want to sketch a circle onto this. So again, the diameter of that circle is 2 mil. The distance from here to here is 2 mil. And the distance from here to here, as far as I remember, was 4 mil. Okay, green tick once we're finished that. And now we see that we've drawn a circle onto that bottom surface. Step 6 is to extrude the circle a distance of 2.5 mil. So grabbing that circle, pressing extrude, and extruding it by 2.5 mil. So we're adding this time, not removing. And we're going to get a shape like that coming out at the bottom of it. Okay, step 7 is to select helix. We know where that is from the previous videos. The helix type should be pitch, conical and cylindrical face should be the extrude from the step previous, which was step 6. Handedness should be clockwise, helix path should be 0.5mm, and start angle should be 0 degrees. Okay, so a lot of information there, but we're going to go here to helix, plane, and selecting this as the conical surface. And we see we'll start to get a helix there. Next thing we want to change is that it's not turn, we want to change the pitch. And we want to change that pitch to 0.5mm. Okay, so we get a nice tighter helix here. Okay, so the lower that number gets, so if we start bringing that down to say 0.01, the tighter together them curves will get. But we want it to be 0.5. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. Green tick. View normal to the front plane and sketch this rectangle onto the front plane. Pierce the left edge of the rectangle and the helix. Okay, so we have a 0.2 by 0.1 rectangle there. So what we want to do is go normal to the front plane, and we're going to zoom in. And we're zooming in to this spot here. Okay, so over to the left side of the shape where the bottom helix is. Okay, so if we see the curve, it's kind of starting here and it's going to go over to this point. And this is the point we're looking for. And we want to sketch here, and we want to sketch onto the front plane. And what we're sketching is a corner rectangle. So zoom in here good and close for yourself, and I want to just sketch a corner rectangle like that. That's going to be 0.1 by 0.2. The next thing I want to do is choose this feature here, which is pierce. And I want to pierce this line with this edge here. And they're going to now pierce each other, which means that this helix and this line are actually joined together now. So I'm going to get out of that relation, and I'm just going to center up this by eye. So this doesn't have to be all that accurate, but just center up that line with the helix. And once you have it centered, you can actually go down here now, and you could dimension this if you want to 0.2. I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, so that's nicely centered for me. Green tick once I'm finished that sketch. Step 9 is to select sweep, select remove sweep. Faces and sketch regions to sweep will be the sketch created in step 8. Sweep path will be the helix. Green tick once completed. Okay, so we're going up here to this feature, sweep, and we are going to remove. The faces and sketch regions to sweep will be this sketch from the previous step. The sweep path will be the helix, and green tick once we're finished. So you can see now we have it's kind of like a thread on a bolt. One thing I like to do now is just to hide the helix curve. Okay, so we're left with this. Chamfer the end of the sweep. This chamfer distance should be 0.1mm. So chamfer is this tool here, and I'm just chamfering this very bottom surface here, or the edge even. And the distance we said was going to be 0.1mm, and that's just going to kind of grind down the bottom of that screw. Okay, so you'll often see that. The last piece then, which was step number 11, is just to edit the appearances of that object. Okay, so one thing I like to do is just to hide the origin and the 3 planes, and then over here to appearances, double click on the current color, which is this blue, and I'm just going to change it to a darker shade of grey. Okay, so you also have this palette mixer as well that you can go through, and you can get whatever colour you like to colour it. Okay, and that is the lead holder now finished. So again, we're going to do 2 parts in this video, and the next part we're going to do is part number 5, which is this lead wheel. So before we begin that, we need to open up a new part studio and renaming that compass or lead holder wheel. Okay, and one thing I also do is, because this is called the lead holder, I'll also change this to lead holder as well. Okay, so lead holder wheel. Step 1 is to sketch a radius 2.5mm circle with the origin as its center. Okay, so that's going to be a diameter 5. So sketch onto the top plane circle with a diameter of 5. Green tick once we're finished that. Extrude, so step 2, extrude the circle a distance of 2 mm to create a cylindrical shape. Okay, and we're going to get a shape like that once we extrude it by 2 mm. View normal to the top plane and sketch this on this shape onto the top surface. So we have a 0.2, 0.2 and 90 degrees here. So go normal to the top and start a sketch. So we're sketching onto the top plane and we're going to sketch a line. So I'm going to start just down here on the circumference anywhere at all, and I'm going to bring it up until I get the indication that it's on the center line. Once I get to the center line, I'm going to click and I'm going to move down here to the right, and I'm going to draw another line. Smart Dimension tool, I need this to be 0.2 and I need this to be 0.2. Okay, the final thing I want to do is dimension the angle in between, and that angle is going to be 90 degrees. Green tick once we're finished that sketch. Step 4, select extrude remove. Faces and sketch regions to extrude will be the surface inside the sketch drawn in step 3. So inside this surface here. The end type will be up to next. So we're going through the whole shape here. So I'm going to click extrude and I'm going to select this surface here. End type is going to be up to next. So that's going to go all the way through this shape once I press remove. Green tick. Okay, so we can see now we have a cutout of this cylinder. Select circular pattern. Select feature pattern, which is important. Make sure you're picking feature pattern. It won't work unless you pick this one. So that is just shown here. The feature to pattern will be the extrude, remove, created in step 4. The axis of pattern will be the circumference of the cylinder created in step 1. The instance count will be 55. Select equal spacing. Okay, so we need to go here to our linear pattern and click the drop down menu to find circular pattern. The very first thing we do is change this part pattern to feature pattern. Features pattern would be the extrude cut from the previous step. The axis of pattern would be the circumference of the cylinder. Okay, we see now that we have 4 cuts made. We need to start increasing that. So the more cuts you add, the more cuts that will appear. And I want to change that to 55. Okay, 55 is the max amount of cuts we can make there before it becoming an incomplete pattern. So 55 there is the most we can do. So now we get a shape something like that. Okay, step 6. View normal to the bottom of the shape and sketch a radius 1mm circle on the center of the shape. Extrude a distance of 1.8 mm. So this time now looking at the bottom of the shape, zooming in, and I'm sketching onto the bottom. What I'm going to sketch is a circle and that circle is going to have a diameter of 2 mm. I'm then extrude removing 1.8 mm. Okay, and make sure you pick the surface that you want to extrude remove, which for me is this surface here, green tip. Okay, so that's the wheel now that is going to connect to this lead holder. One problem that I had while making this project was I couldn't get the helix thread to appear inside this shape here. I just couldn't get it for some reason, and whenever I did get it, it would cut out a hole from the top. So I've just opted to leave it like this. If you did want to attempt it, I would change the transparency to translucent so that you could see through the shape to see what you're sketching on the inside, and I'd probably also suppress the circular pattern so that you can try to draw it on the helix in here if you do decide to do it. But I was happy enough with leaving it as it is. Okay, so again, just hiding them planes, going back to the final step, which is step 7, to edit object appearance, and I'm going to give it the same colour that I gave the previous part, which was the lead holder. So I'm going to go over here to my appearance panel, double click on the current colour and change it to this colour here. Green tick once I'm finished, and close that appearance panel. Okay, so that's the lead wheel. We're going to be assembling that to the lead holder in the next video, not the next one, in one down the line. The next video will look at the spike and the lead and the pin. Okay, so 3 relatively easy parts. Okay, hope you found this helpful. Let me know if you have any questions.